When you're overwhelmed by life's hardest moments, where do you turn for strength? Have you ever found unexpected comfort in a place you didn't think to look? Today on Stories of Hope, we explore how one woman found purpose through unexpected connections and how sometimes reaching out can help us heal. Welcome to Stories of Hope. Today we'll discover a journey where hope emerged from an unexpected place. In this episode, we look at the unique way social media can bring people together, even in times of deep pain. Let me ask you, have you ever reached out online to offer someone support, or maybe found it yourself? Before we get into that, I want to ask another question.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that's a great part of the story too, but there's something I do want to address, right? What is some of the deepest pain that you may have experienced in your life? You know, I know it's a really deep question. I know it's difficult to answer, but I want to ask it because I think it's important to kind of let out what we've been through because it helps us attach a little bit more, right, in understanding our pain. So I'll ask again, what is the deepest pain you have ever felt in your life?
Well, I guess if I have to say, almost state the obvious, right? It would be the loss of someone.
Yeah.
Because even if it's through medical issues, health issues, whatever they may be, or even unexpected, I don't think it's something that we are ever prepared for.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember losing grandparents. It's a cycle of life, honestly, if you know, like grow with the timeline, chronologic where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Even sometimes when you know and you're expecting it, you're never ready. You know, so I guess to me, like it's always like when you really lose someone, that's really when it hits.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
say the greatest pain is the pain of losing a child. And we're going to see that in our story today. And that's not a pain I can relate to. I don't have kids, but you do, Felipe.
I do. So I have 2 kids, so I can't even imagine, like if anything happens to them, and it's hopeless because all you try to do is let me have that pain. You know, whatever they're going through, whatever happens to them, let it happen to me. I'm an adult, I can take it. But when it happens to them, they're hopeless. It really hits home, you know.
Wow, that is so true, Jitesh. You know, I like what Hannah brought up. I think people have said that the most painful experience is losing your child. I mean, it's sort of expected that a parent dies, you know, and the child gets to, you know, pick up after, you know, the process of burying their parents. But when a parent has to bury their child, it's the opposite timeline. And so people have said this is the most painful experience, you know.
And I'll share with you guys because it is one of my deepest pains, if not my deepest pain. And, you know, it's hard for me to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it today because I want to. But a lot of people don't know that I am the middle child. I was actually born the youngest child first. And I had an older sister. So, but when I was 12 years old, she passed away when she was 16 years old, actually.
Oh, wow.
She was diagnosed with leukemia suddenly, just from out of nowhere. And then within 2 days, she passed away in the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I have my little brother. He's 11 years younger than me. He was 1 at the time. Overnight, I became the oldest in the family. You know, I don't know how to express that feeling. You know, I don't know how to express watching your parents lose a child, you know, but I saw it firsthand, you know, and now becoming a father myself, I don't know how they were able to do what they've done. And not only that, my parents' faith is so strong. I mean, like, that's something I think that's when I realized truly what faith was, right? Because I watched my parents go through this extremely difficult loss. And in that loss, you know, my dad never and mom never cursed the Lord, asked questions to the Lord. They just said, you know, we believe in him. You know, we have, and to hear someone say that in their darkest moment, I said, what kind of faith is that? You know, what does it take to feel that way? So this story is very close to my heart, you know. Even leukemia, again, it's the same, you know, same diagnosis. And so it hit me really, you know, a lot when I heard this story. So but again, there's something great to take out of it. And what I take is learning what faith is, learning how to have faith in the moments where you feel like everything is just complete, that pain that you can never experience or even relate to someone on that pain. But I do remember, and I'll never forget this, is all the hugs that I got, all the people who were there for me.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it in my entire life. And most of them didn't even use words. They just hugged me. They sat with me because they told me, Jitesh, we don't even know what to tell you. We're feeling all the pain. We don't even know what to say, but we just want to be here with you.
Right.
So you know you're not alone.
And Jitesh, one thing I've found as I have pastored in different cultural contexts is that if there's one common experience that we all share, outside of joyous occasion, is losing someone. Like regardless of what culture you look at, regardless of what country, like that the common experience that the human family experiences together is losing a loved ones. It's it struck a chord in our heart. So this topic that we're looking at today, grief, losing your loved one, especially losing a child, is one that regardless of what culture a person may find themselves in, can experience that.
Puya, I know maybe you have something from the Bible that can help us in this time of feeling this grief, this deep, deep pain.
Indeed, Jitesh, and we'll look at from the Old Testament today, a story where someone lost a loved one, but how God turned it around in the end. Right? So at the end of the day, there's hope.
Yes.
Dear friend, thank you for joining us today. We're now going to the Bible. We'll look at the story of Naomi and Ruth. So stay with us as we go to the Bible. In the book of Ruth, in the Old Testament, we find a story of grief, resilience, and finding support in unlikely ways. Naomi lost her family. According to the story, she first lost her husband. And after losing her husband, she lost her 2 sons. Now she was left with her daughter-in-laws. What was she supposed to do? Back to the context of her story, Naomi, her family was in Moab. They were originally from Bethlehem. You may have heard of that name, Bethlehem. It's a famous town because that's where Jesus was born, right? So they were originally from Bethlehem, but they moved to Moab. And so her 2 sons married Moabites. Now, interestingly enough, when her 2 sons were gone, she gave the options to her daughter-in-laws to go back to their parents. Now go back to your parents. I no longer have my 2 sons and I can no longer have children for you. They cried together. They grieved together. Now imagine, here was Naomi. Once again, she lost not only her husband, but her 2 sons. Now, one of her daughter-in-laws left her to go back to her parents. But here we find a beautiful story of shared grief. Ruth, one of her daughter-in-laws, decided to stay with her. And I want to read briefly this text from the words of Ruth herself that I find to be so powerful. We find this in Ruth chapter 1, verse 16, where Ruth replied back to Naomi when Naomi told her to go back to her parents. Ruth said, "Entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me." Wow, what a powerful statement from Ruth. She shared that grief of losing a loved one. She told Naomi she would not leave her. Wherever she goes, she will follow. And so Ruth, who was an unbeliever at first, a Moabite, joined now to Naomi's family to worship the God of Naomi. This is where we find the beauty of helping someone, because Ruth decided to stick with her mother-in-law, Naomi. They bonded together in that grief. You see, friends, there is something about shared grief. in a short while, we're going to hear a story of someone who also lost her child. But before that, here's something powerful that we can learn from this story. One is shared grief. When you go through grief, when you are suffering from the pain of losing a loved one, don't suffer alone, right? Don't suffer alone. Reach out to someone. Search for someone. Maybe you can submit a prayer request. In fact, you can visit us at hope.study and you can submit a prayer request or a Bible question. Maybe you're asking, God, why did you allow me to lose my son, my child, my mother? Please visit us at hope.study. We have Bible study resources. Maybe that can help you to understand somehow the big picture. Jitesh, this story is so powerful from the Bible, but I know that we have a story is it from the Philippines or from Inter-America? Inter-America
yes,
that we'll be looking at, right?
Yes, today. Yes, thank you, Puya. Naomi and Ruth's story reminds us that in times of heartache, connection can be our greatest comfort. Stay with us for more stories of hope. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Stories of Hope. Today we're exploring how even our most painful times, connecting with others can help provide the support we need. Felipe, I hear you have some insights and something that you would like to share, and we always love to hear it.
I do, because we do have a powerful story coming up.
Yes.
But before we get to the story, Jitesh, social media has become a powerful way to reach people in unexpected moments, especially for those facing hidden pain. For many, it offers a lifeline of connection even in the hardest times. Think about it. People spend about 143 minutes each day on social media. That's nearly 2.5 hours every single day, looking for connection, understanding, or sometimes just a little bit of hope. But platforms like TikTok and YouTube are the forefront, with users, TikTok averaging about 34 hours each month, and YouTube users averaging around 28 hours. It's clear we invest so much time on these platforms, often searching for content that resonates with us deeply, whether it's short videos, live chats, or stories that makes us feel real and relatable. Social media gives us more than entertainment. It offers a place to find understanding and comfort. And for some, it even becomes a way to start healing. In today's story, we'll meet a mother who experienced unimaginable loss. Through a simple digital connection, her journey began to shift, and a new path opened up for her. Let's take a look at her powerful testimony.
Her name is Syrian. Syrian's life was forever changed 2 years ago when she lost her son, Adil, to leukemia. Overwhelmed by grief, she found herself unable to talk to anyone, and her world grew dark as she sank into despair and isolation. But even in her darkest moments, a glimmer of hope began to emerge. In 2023, the Adventist Church in Mexico launched the evangelistic series Don't Give Up, There Is Still Hope, broadcast nightly for a week in July through Hope Channel Inter-America, social media, Adventist radio, and other media. Thousands of people followed this program from their homes and other public spaces. Syrian was one of them. One night, a comment from a girl named Gabriela caught Syrian's attention. Gabriela was asking for prayers for her son, who was also suffering from leukemia. Syrian felt an immediate connection to Gabriela's pain, recognizing it as her own. Moved by empathy, Syrian reached out to Gabriela, offering her prayers and a Bible course. Despite the initial lack of response, Syrian persisted, and eventually, Gabriela replied. As Syrian shared God's word with her from a distance, something incredible happened. Both women found comfort and hope, and Syrian herself began to truly heal. Determined to help Gabriela more effectively, Syrian, who was in another state, hundreds of kilometers away, contacted the pastor of the nearest church to Gabriela's home. Eventually, Gabriela decided to be baptized. Being present at Gabriela's baptism was a profound gift for both women and a moment Syrian will never forget.
Si antes estaba convencida de predicar el Evangelio, porque siempre me gustó dar estudios bíblicos, si antes deseaba con todo mi corazón que Jesús viniera pronto, ahora, después de la muerte de mi hijo, cuento los minutos, cuento los segundos.
Hope Channel Inter-America played a crucial role in this journey, providing a platform for sharing hope and the message of Jesus. Like Syrian, each of us can be part of this life-changing mission. We are all hope.
Estoy convencida que somos elegidos para proclamar al mundo su venida.
Now, Jitesh, wasn't that just a moving story? What stood out to me the most was how simple a social media connection could change not just one life, but two. It's incredible how digital ministry is opening doors for us to reach more people than ever before. It really shows the power of platforms like Hope Channel to transform lives, offering hope and support right when it's needed the most.
Absolutely, Felipe. Stories like these remind us just how far-reaching even a single connection can be. We'll be right back with more stories of hope. Please don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. I have exciting news for you from one of our newest channels, Hope Channel Canada. They're broadcasting a new show called More to Life that's sure to inspire you. This series is all about encouraging viewers to find fulfillment, purpose, and true joy through a deeper relationship with Christ. Let's take a quick look at what's coming up.
Life can be boring, challenging, and stressful. And sometimes we just need a change. Sometimes we don't want the change. But whether we like it or not, there's a new life just around the corner. We may experience a few bumps along the way, but I want to invite you. I want to invite you to seriously come and take a look for that something that tells you that there is more to life.
No matter the challenges you face, More to Life reminds us that there's always something more waiting just around the corner. Stay tuned for more exciting news here at Stories of Hope.
Welcome back to Stories of Hope. Today we're exploring how social media isn't just about connecting with friends. It can also be a powerful tool for spreading messages of hope and faith. Today we're joined by Philip Matthew, Assistant to the President at Hope Channel International, and Sarah, our fundraising coordinator, who's here to share insights on the future vision for our global network. I'm glad to have both of you with us. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And I have some interesting questions that I'd love to ask you, and they may be a bit challenging, but let's see how well we do, okay? Philip, with so many people looking for hope and connection online, how is Hope Channel using social media to reach those who may be quietly struggling?
You know, Jitesh, there are people who are struggling, and when they're struggling quietly, they have unique ways of how they search for things online.
Right.
So to do that, you know, we have a wonderful global network with a large support staff that engages with people where they are. Yeah. You know, this is on social media platforms, on projects, we try to address people where the questions they're asking based on what they're seeking. So for example, in the country of Ukraine, we have a program there when translated, it's something along the lines of there are no complex texts, which speaks to what people are searching for specifically from the Bible there. In the countries or the islands of Philippines, we have a program or a YouTube channel there called Music of Hope. You know, it does tremendously well in that context there with the different music programs that they kind of have on social media for that. In the German context, we have a program there called Masterpiece Bible. You know, it's directed at answering questions to the questions that people have from the Bible. But again, it's in that context of what people are searching for in that culture from the Bible. Then we can pivot a little bit to look at some things that we're doing in the English language. For example, here in North America, we have a website called mentalhealthseries.org. You know, we did some studies and we found out that people are genuinely seeking help from mental health, but they're not going to openly talk about it.
Right.
You know, these are things that people struggle with on them, but listening to where they are, what they're looking for, and then creating content where they go looking for that content.
Wow. So basically you're saying, right, while you're struggling, you can create different avenues, right, of reaching people. So sometimes we may think if someone's struggling, we need to just address the struggling, right? But it seems like you're saying there's creative ways, right, that we can do it, like music, for instance, that you brought up in the Philippines. Right?
Exactly, and adding to that, because this is happening on an online platform, there is an engaging community there. You know, both our viewers, our support teams, we're always there engaging in the stories that were shared earlier today. We saw how someone who found that passion in that program, they were able to resonate with the comment that someone left.
Wow.
You know, and they engaged and they built up and responded to that. So across our social media content platforms, there are ways like this and how Hope Channel is using innovative ways to reach out and engage for our audience or for people who are searching, people who are looking.
So basically, leave a comment, right? Because you can do that right on that platform. Speaking of leaving a comment, if you're watching right now and you've had this experience, right, where you've commented, or maybe you haven't commented before, we would like you to start right now. You can comment right now as you're watching. We'd love to hear from you. This is my first time commenting, or I love this show, or whatever your feelings are and thoughts. Please share your comments. We want to talk to you. We want to connect with you. I have another question for you, Philip. We just saw in our story today how digital platforms can offer comfort and purpose to those dealing with deep loss. What are some of the ways we're working to expand our reach on social media?
Social media, we have to recognize that each platform is unique. Each platform has a native way in which people consume their content. You know, what you see on TikTok, what people go to TikTok for is very different for what people go to YouTube. Or what they go to on Facebook or Instagram. You know, like the aspirational things that people have there are very different. Similarly, what people go look for on regular television channel is very different from what they go to look for on Netflix. There is an experience, right? So to expand that reach as much as possible to the resources that God has given us, we do our best to say that, hey, what is it that we can contribute to what people are searching for on this platform? You know, why do they come to this platform? And then from there, using the examples that I shared in the last question, you know, we know on YouTube, people go and ask interesting questions. Right? So to that end, we have question and answers that are there on, for example, in Ukraine, answering questions from the Bible, but in their context, they're calling it no complex text. But it's the same concept here in North America. We call it Bible Help Desk. Right? Same concept in Germany. It's Masterpiece Bible. Answering critical questions that people are looking for. And finding that. But in the context of music, we know that it tends to perform well where people are just thumb scrolling. They find something that's unique and they pay attention to it. Oh, I enjoy that. I want to watch a longer version of that song. You know, something to that effect, and they find it uplifting, something encouraging. But in all of this, reach what we're attempting while we're attempting that, it's also going back to the engagement that people have.
Yeah.
How are they choosing to engage? For some people, it may be as simple as just leaving a like, or leaving a emoji as a response.
Yeah.
For some people, it's leaving a comment. But as you encouraged earlier, it's important that people engage. If they've so it gives that feedback loop. They're sharing a short testimony of how they've been blessed because it encourages others.
Yes. Yes.
That also, now looking at how social media functions in and at its core, is that when people do comment, it also starts to expand the reach organically in that regard there.
Wow.
So it's important for us when we're thinking about reach in social media, we're not just thinking about pushing the content, but doing it in such a way that people are willing to engage, leave a comment, respond, and then we can see how God opens doors from there.
Wonderful. Sarah, I know that you have used social media, right? Just like I do.
Yes.
And right now, I'm learning a lot from Philip because I don't, right? We're sitting here and we're like, whoa, this is stuff that is good to hear. So thank you, Philip, for sharing. But it's not just for the viewers at home, for you at home. It's also for us too, because we're learning too how to engage. So I have a question for you, Sarah, that I'd love to ask you. Sarah, you use social media just like I do, right? So we use it a lot and we've learned so much from Phil right now. Thank you, Phil, for sharing so much. I like to learn stuff, so it was really wonderful to do that. But Sarah, also you could take us back to the story, right?
Yeah. What truly inspires me is, Syrian, as a mother, I can only, I don't even want to, but I can only fathom the pain that she went through. Yeah. And, she had every reason to turn her back on God, but she didn't. She leaned on him and, for her faith, and she allowed God to use her to spread hope. And what's so amazing is that today the legacy of her son still lives on through Gabriella. And that's a really big lesson for us,
And she allowed someone, right, to help her. Because
Exactly.
I think that's a part of the biggest challenge is like, sometimes you have to get to that point where you're saying, I need help. I need to be okay with receiving the help, So I feel like she got to that point and then things were able to happen, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
She was able to turn things around. And what's so great is you at home, you too can be like Syrian. You too can share hope today with someone who may be quietly experiencing pain, someone who needs to hear a message of hope. You can actually reach them today. And you can do so by scanning the QR code on the screen or calling the number on the screen.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, and thank you, Philip, for being here. We appreciate your time. I know some of these questions were a bit challenging, but I'm really thankful for your time and for being here. Today's story reminds us that even when life feels overwhelming, connection and purpose can be found in unexpected ways. With our goal to reach 1 billion people by 2030, Hope Channel is committed to sharing stories that inspire hope around the world. If you want to be a part of this mission, please consider making a donation to help us continue sharing life-changing stories. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit our website to donate. Together, we're transforming the world one story at a time. Thank you for watching Stories of Hope. We'll see you next time.